This episode is based on prisoner diaries, escape committee reports, and testimonies recovered from the archives of the Royal Air Force and United States Army Air Forces. The voices you'll hear come from the men who risked everything for freedom. In the dead of night, one tunnel held 1,000 hopes. March 1944, Stalag Luft III, a prisoner of war camp in Nazi Germany. Deep in the forests of Lower Silesia, over 10,000 Allied airmen were held behind barbed wire, pilots, navigators, bombardiers, men who had been shot down over occupied Europe. But they refused to accept captivity. They planned the impossible, the largest prisoner escape in World War II history. Codename Operation 200. This is the story of three men: Flight Lieutenant Roger Bushell, the mastermind, squadron leader James Davies, the tunnel engineer, and pilot officer Michael Carter, the lookout. Together with hundreds of others, they dug 3 tunnels under the camp: Tom, Dick, and Harry. On the night of March 24, 1944, 76 men crawled through Tunnel Harry, into the dark German forest, into the unknown. The question this episode explores: how did they dig a tunnel 350 feet long, 30 feet deep, without the Germans discovering it? And what happened to the men who escaped? Stalag Luft III was built in 1942, located near the town of Sagan, now Żagań, Poland. The camp was designed specifically for captured Allied Air Force officers. High security, double barbed wire fences, guard towers, searchlights, seismograph microphones buried in the ground to detect tunneling. The camp was divided into compounds: North Compound, East Compound, South Compound. Each compound held over 2,000 prisoners. Barracks were raised on stilts. No basements, no hiding places. The sand was loose and yellow, easy to spot if moved. The Germans thought escape was impossible. They were wrong. Flight Lieutenant Roger Bushell was a South African pilot serving with the Royal Air Force. He'd been shot down in 1940 and captured. He'd escaped twice before. Both times, he was recaptured. The third time, the Germans warned him, "Escape again, and you will be shot." Bushell didn't care. He called a meeting of senior officers. March 1943. He proposed a plan. Not just an escape, a mass breakout, 200 men, simultaneously, overwhelm the German search efforts, create chaos, increase the chances that some would make it home. The escape committee approved. Work began immediately. 3 tunnels: Tom, Dick, Harry, each starting from a different barracks, each designed to reach beyond the perimeter fence and into the forest. The distance: over 300 feet. The depth: 30 feet below ground. Deep enough to avoid the seismograph detectors. The men had no proper tools, no shovels, no timber, no lights. They improvised. Bed slats became tunnel supports. Tin cans became digging tools. Margarine lamps provided light. Air was pumped through tubes made from powdered milk cans. Squadron leader James Davies was the chief engineer, a Canadian pilot. Methodical, precise. He designed a tunnel with a vertical shaft, a horizontal passage, and an exit shaft. The width, just enough for a man to crawl through. 2 feet by 2 feet. The digging was brutal. The sand was soft. It collapsed constantly. The air was thin. Men fainted underground. Claustrophobia was common. But they kept digging, in shifts, around the clock. The tunnels had to be hidden. The entrance to Harry was concealed beneath a stove in Hut 104. The stove sat on a metal frame. When lifted, it revealed a trapdoor. Underneath, a ladder leading down 30 feet. The Germans searched the barracks daily, random inspections. The prisoners developed a warning system, lookouts posted at every window. A code word: goon up. If a guard approached, work stopped immediately. Digging a tunnel 350 feet long required organization. The escape committee divided the work into teams: diggers, haulers, carpenters, lookouts, Forgers, tailors, diggers worked in pairs. One man at the tunnel face, scraping sand with a tin can, filling a wooden box. The hauler pulled the box back to the base of the shaft using a rope. The sand was hauled to the surface, dispersed secretly. Dispersal was critical. Yellow sand couldn't be left in piles, too visible. The prisoners sewed pouches into their trouser legs, filled them with sand, walked around the compound, released the sand slowly, mixed it into the grey topsoil. Invisible, carpenters built supports, bed slats stolen from every barrack, positioned every 3 feet along the tunnel, preventing collapse. Precision carpentry. No room for error. Forgers created fake documents, identity papers, travel permits, train tickets, using stolen German forms and hand-carved stamps. Over 400 documents forged by hand. Tailors converted uniforms into civilian clothing, dyed with ink and beet juice, buttons carved from scrap wood. Every detail mattered. If a man reached a train station, he had to look like a German worker or a foreign labourer, not a prisoner. Pilot Officer Michael Carter was a lookout, American, shot down over France. His job: watch the guards, learn their routines, their schedules, their blind spots. He kept a log, timing every patrol to the minute. Tunnel Tom was discovered in September 1943. A guard noticed subsidence near the fence. He probed the ground, found the tunnel. The Germans flooded it, months of work destroyed. The prisoners didn't give up. They focused on Harry. Double shifts, faster progress. By March 1944, Harry was complete. 350 feet. Exit point, just beyond the tree line. But problems remained. The tunnel was 10 feet short. The exit was supposed to open in the forest. Instead, it opened in a clearing, 15 feet from the trees. Visible, dangerous. The escape committee debated, cancel the operation or proceed. Bushell made the call. Proceed. We've come too far to stop now. Another problem. The winter of 1943 was brutal. Cold, snow, frozen ground. The tunnel supports contracted, sections collapsed, repairs took weeks, progress slowed. Then, a tragedy. One of the diggers, a flight lieutenant named John Williams, died of a heart attack while working in the tunnel. The lack of oxygen, the physical strain. He was 28 years old. The men held a secret funeral. His body was declared dead from natural causes. The Germans never suspected the tunnel, but the men remembered. Every shovel of sand, every inch of progress. John's sacrifice pushed them forward. March 1944. Tunnel Harry was ready. The escape committee selected 200 men, priority given to those who spoke German or had the best chance of reaching neutral countries. Switzerland, Sweden, Spain. Each man received a forged identity. Cover story. A route. Some would pose as foreign workers, others as German civilians. A few would attempt to blend in as French or Polish labourers. Flight Lieutenant Bushell would travel as a French businessman. He spoke fluent French and German. His route? Train to Stettin, then boat to Sweden. Squadron Leader Davies would pose as a Hungarian worker. His route? Train south to Czechoslovakia, then west to Switzerland. Pilot Officer Carter would attempt to reach France, posing as a Dutch labourer. The escape was scheduled for the night of March 24th. A moonless night, maximum darkness. The plan: start at 2100 hours, send men through at 5-minute intervals, 200 men, 10 hours. By dawn, they'd be scattered across Germany. Each man packed a small bag, civilian clothes, forged papers, a compass, a map, high-energy food, chocolate, raisins, hardtack biscuits, stolen from Red Cross parcels. The tension was unbearable. Years of planning, months of labour, one night. Everything depended on silence and speed. March 24th, 1944, 2100 hours, Hut 104. The stove was lifted, the trapdoor opened. The first man descended the ladder. Flight Lieutenant Bushell went first. Leader, organizer. He crawled into the tunnel, 30 feet down, 350 feet forward, on his stomach, elbows and knees, pulling himself through the narrow passage. The air was stale, the darkness absolute, only a faint glow from margarine lamps every 50 feet. It took 20 minutes to crawl the full length. Bushell reached the exit shaft, climbed the ladder, pushed open the wooden trapdoor. Fresh air, cold. He looked around, the clearing, the trees, 15 feet away. Damn. He signaled back down the tunnel. One tug on the rope. Safe. Send the next man. The second man emerged. Then the third. They crouched in the clearing, waited for a gap in the searchlight sweep, then sprinted to the tree line, disappeared into the forest. The system worked. 5 minutes per man. By midnight, 20 men had escaped. But then, a problem. The 21st man panicked halfway through the tunnel. Claustrophobia. He froze. Blocked the passage. The men behind him couldn't move. Time was lost. Precious minutes. The controllers at the base of the shaft talked him through it. Slowly. Calmly. He crawled forward. The flow resumed. By 0300 hours, 76 men had escaped. Then disaster struck. 0450 hours. A German guard on routine patrol spotted movement near the tree line. He investigated. Found the exit hatch, open, fresh footprints in the snow. He raised the alarm. Sirens, searchlights. Guards swarmed the area. They found the tunnel. 77th man was still inside, crawling toward the exit. He was pulled out, arrested. Inside the camp, chaos. The Germans stormed Hut 104, found the entrance, sealed it, counted the prisoners. 76 men missing. The Gestapo was called. The SS. The local police. A massive manhunt began. Roadblocks, train station searches, patrols in every town within a 100-mile radius. The prisoners left behind were locked in their barracks. Interrogated. Who helped? Who knew? The men said nothing. The escape committee had planned for this. Deny everything. Protect the organization. Flight Lieutenant Bushell and 75 others were out. Scattered across Germany, some heading west, some east, some south, all moving fast, hoping to cross a border before the net closed. But the odds were against them. Germany was on full alert. Every policeman, every soldier, every railway official was looking for escaped prisoners. Within 48 hours, 50 of the 76 escapees were recaptured, caught at train stations, on roads, in fields. They were arrested, returned to Stalag Luft III, thrown into solitary confinement. But 26 men were still at large, including Bushell, Davies, Carter. March 26th. Bushell and his travelling companion were stopped at a train station near Saarbrücken. A routine check. Their papers were perfect. But the Gestapo officer was suspicious. He asked questions. Bushell's German was flawless. But his companion hesitated. A small mistake. Enough. They were arrested. Taken to Gestapo headquarters. March 27th. Squadron leader Davies was caught near the Czech border. He'd travelled over 200 miles, closer to freedom than almost anyone. But a police patrol stopped him. His Hungarian identity didn't hold. Arrested. Pilot Officer Carter was caught in France. He'd made it farther than most, but the resistance network he was trying to contact had been compromised. Betrayed. Arrested. By the end of March, 73 of the 76 had been recaptured. Only 3 made it to freedom. 2 Norwegians reached Sweden. 1 Dutchman reached Gibraltar. 73 men returned to custody, but they would not return to Stalag Luft III. Adolf Hitler was furious. The escape embarrassed the Third Reich. He ordered all recaptured prisoners to be executed. Immediately, Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe, protested. Executing prisoners of war violated the Geneva Convention. It would invite retaliation against German POWs held by the Allies. Hitler compromised, Execute 50. Spare the rest. The Gestapo selected 50 men, including Bushell, Davies, Carter. They were taken from their cells, told they were being transferred back to camp. Instead, they were driven to remote locations, ordered out of the vehicles, shot in the back of the head, execution by firing squad, disguised as attempted escape. The official report: prisoners tried to run, guards fired, all killed. 50 men, murdered in cold blood. The remaining 23 were returned to Stalag Luft III. They told the others what happened. Shock, rage, grief. The men who survived the escape, who endured the tunnel, the fear, the hope, shot for trying to be free. The murders violated every rule of war. But there was no justice, not yet. The Germans cremated the bodies, sent the urns back to Stalag Luft III, a warning, a message. Do not try this again. But the prisoners didn't break. They held a memorial service. 50 urns lined up, 50 names read aloud, 50 men who refused to surrender. The names included Flight Lieutenant Roger Bushell, Squadron Leader James Davies, Pilot Officer Michael Carter, and 47 others. Heroes. After the war, the British government launched an investigation. The Royal Air Force Special Investigation Branch tracked down the men responsible: Gestapo officers, SS guards, police officials. 18 were arrested, tried, convicted. 13 were executed. 5 received life sentences. Justice, delayed, but delivered. Stalag Luft III was liberated by Soviet forces in January 1945. The remaining prisoners were freed. They returned home. They told the story of the Great Escape. Today, a memorial stands at the site of Stalag Luft III. 50 stone markers, one for each man executed, a reminder of courage, of sacrifice, of the price of freedom. The Great Escape became one of the most famous events of World War II. Books were written. A film was made in 1963. The story inspired generations. But the real legacy isn't Hollywood. It's the men. Ordinary men who refused to accept captivity. Who risked everything for a chance at freedom. Tunnel Harry was over 350 feet long, 30 feet deep, built with stolen bed slats and tin cans. It took 11 months, thousands of hours, hundreds of men. And it worked. 76 men escaped, 3 made it home, 50 were murdered, 23 survived. The Great Escape didn't shorten the war. It didn't destroy a factory or sink a ship. But it proved something more important. That courage doesn't need weapons. That hope can't be imprisoned. That the human spirit refuses to be broken. Flight Lieutenant Bushell's final words to the escape. Committee, we're going out, and we're going to give them hell. They did. If your family has prisoner of war stories, escape accounts, or letters from Stalag Luft III or any other camp, we'd love to hear about them. Leave a comment below. Share a memory. Help us preserve these voices. In our next episode, we'll explore another story of resilience. A field medic, 1 night, 15 wounded, and the choices that saved lives under fire. Subscribe for weekly long-form episodes based on real accounts from World War II. New episodes every week. Thank you for listening. And thank you to the men who crawled through Tunnel Harry. The men who risked everything. The men who showed us what freedom truly means. One tunnel,